This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but you are encouraged to like and share them on social media because it's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World in Fort Pierce, Florida. And the show is hosted by Joanne Augusto.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning and week. I am so glad to be on air this morning with Dr. Ravi. Yes, folks, it's that time again. So good morning, Dr. Ravi. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome. Yes, well, always. I would love to have you every week. You're so awesome. All right, folks. Well, Dr. Ravi and I and Cliff, the expert in-house counter, we must begin with our breathing exercise, everybody. So, again, thank you for spending some time with us this morning. For all the newbies on, this is a simple breathing exercise to get us focused for the day, stress-free, and just really practice mindful breathing. So we're going to do an exhale out of all the stress, the negativity, all the junk that might be inside our minds and bodies. And then we're going to do a 5 count in through the nose, hold for 5, exhale for 5. And we're going to do this 2 times because Dr. Ravi and I have so much info to cover. So without further ado, exhale everybody out, all the junk.
Out. Now begin.
Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you, Cliff. All right, I hope everyone feels as good as I do. How did that feel for you, Dr. Ravi? Feel all focused and centered?
Great. All nourished.
Yeah, all nourished. Hey, oxygen.
With oxygen.
Hey, killing those cancer cells, right?
Exactly.
Well, now that you're mentioning nourishment, we have to mention the opposite of nourishment, which is the most poisonous food. Well, I don't even want to call it food. The poisonous substance on the planet, empty calorie, destroying, addictive. What word are we talking about here, Dr. Ravi?
Sugar.
Dun, dun, dun. And if any of my listeners didn't know what we were leading up to, definitely listen more, okay? All right. So, yes, Dr. Ravi and I are going to be discussing sugar. Unfortunately, I find that, 50 years later than sugar being discussed out there in the world about being bad, there are documentaries and other information that's misleading us, making us think it's okay again. And it's so unfortunate. So when you mentioned that you wanted to do the topic on this, I was like thinking, oh, you know what? I've talked about this so often, but I really haven't, because doing the research, they're misleading us more than ever, like with these labels and this disguising
all natural,
of
even some organic things. And you
I
look
wasn't
at the
joking, but we have a lot of ground to cover, right?
We do, yes.
So, but if anyone is going to have to leave the show early, I do need you to get pens and papers or your phones out to take some important info right now, okay? So Dr. Ravi always offers all his patients tons of information through documentaries at his office, flyers, workshops. And his one coming up is November 27th. It's called Sugar Crash, which is so accurate. So avoiding the bittersweet side of sugar. So this is one of his workshops. You never want to miss any of his workshops. But this one is Tuesday, November 27th at 7 p.m. at his office, which is Tradition Family Chiropractic. And you can mention the website and phone number for me.
Traditionhealth.com. Our phone number is 772-345-0060. Or you can also find the event on eventbrite.com and just search Sugar Crash.
Great, and they can just register there. But for us, people that really aren't great with, signing up on the internet, we can just call this number and talk to your amazing office there and just sign up on phone. All right, great. So it doesn't matter if you're not computer savvy or phone savvy, just call the phone number and you can definitely register that way, okay? All right. So without further ado,
And before we start more into the
sorry.
sugar
Okay.
thing, people relate a lot of sugar problems with diabetes.
Okay.
And so I just want to go over some things with diabetes.
Oh,
and,
please.
Sugar is the number one cause for a lot of chronic inflammation, and diabetes being one of the major things. I'm seeing little kids coming into our office with, being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
I know, this so little.
It's so sad.
Too.
And to understand what type 2 diabetes is when you're over bombarded with sugar and it causes your insulin cells to burn out.
Definitely.
Right? So that's type 2. Type 1 is where your body is just it's attacking itself, the pancreas. So you're not making the insulin. And, a lot of the pregnant women that we see in the office do come in, unfortunately, with gestational diabetes. And that's when their hormones just go, wreak havoc on their system and not allowing their body to produce the insulin they need. And so there's different ways we manage that.
As a female, I've only been pregnant a couple times, but I have to say that we get really high carbohydrate cravings during pregnancy. All my friends, myself, I notice, I'm going to say 4 times the amount. So for anyone listening today that either themselves might be pregnant in the near future or loved ones, be conscious of that. You can avoid, gestational diabetes, but just know the truth that it will come up, those extra cravings. You see it in all the movies. Honey, at 3 a.m., go get me cookies and ice cream. It is common. So if you arm yourself with knowledge, you prepare yourself, you start learning how to, like we'll go over later in the show, using alternatives and cooking with healthier forms of sweetness. But pregnancy does, it really attacks you hard.
Yeah, and one way to hack your system is through getting healthy fats into your diet when you're having those cravings.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
and you definitely want to balance with healthy fats.
Yes.
Definitely.
So now we understand what sugar can do, especially when it causes diabetes. We should know more about some of the statistics when it comes to sugar issues.
Definitely, there's scary statistics too. I tried to get new statistics, but it was like so scary as far as when you look at the stats and how.
Well, I was
how
looking up
crazy.
some of these, and the average American consumes 160 pounds of sugar a year.
I know, that's the first one I wrote down in my notes, and I was like, holy moly, do people realize how much is, and what's even scary about it is, so the American Health Association, which I kind of scoff at a little bit because they're so outdated. They're the ones that say, for a female, it's 6 teaspoons a day that they should consume, and for a male, it's 9. So here's a government agency that really knows nothing about health that's saying this, and we totally blow away theirs, consuming 10 times that.
Yeah.
Holy moly, we are so off course.
And it's because, it's how we're trained to think, right? Or what we're taught. And so when we're looking at packages, these governmental agencies, they're not regulating it enough, where they're putting all natural, and you look at the ingredients and there's so many different hidden things in there. There's hundreds of different terms for sugar.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple tips for listeners, and you might have the same ones as me. So to avoid anything that says OSC, okay, at the end of the word, because again, they're finding new names every year to trick us, okay? It's really misleading, but these marketing companies do not have health in mind. They have sales in mind. So if it ends OSE or syrup or any play on fruit, like Matt saw, he brought home, I don't know if it was for the kids, it's really for him because he's like a candy guy. He loves candy. Oh, I'm like, give me a cookie, give me
I gotta
a
talk
cake.
to him.
You do, because I don't know. I feel like I like real food. He'll eat I don't even want to mention it on. Oh, it's terrible. But there was one. He's like, but look, honey, it says fruit something. It was such trickery. It was fruit molasses syrup. I don't know. It was such a play on fruit, but it was nothing close. I was like, honey, does an apple taste like that? Come on. Like I could eat 80 apples and I would never get that sensation. But a lot of people I realize are being misled by this. Do you have any other tricks when they're reading these ingredient labels?
Looking out for OL at the end.
Oh,
so
OL.
O's,
Yeah.
OL,
Yep. And the artificials too with the OLs.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And those O's.
Yeah, and the patented names. Sometimes these companies are using all these empty calorie processed, very dangerous sweeteners, and they will use their patented name, which might sound really like a plant and all organic and natural, but they're not. They're their patented name, like for instance, the sucralose, the Splenda. Those are, Splenda sounds great. It's splendid, right, Dr. Ravi?
Yeah.
No,
and they
it's
paint a
bleached
perfect picture
sugar.
on the commercials and ads. It's crazy.
They get these great people flying kites with little cute outfits on, and you think, you're going to lose 20 pounds and have perfect skin and hair and be healthy ever after.
Normal sugar, table sugar, is, I'm sure it's bleached and processed, sucrose, right?
Right.
And now the patent name is sucralose.
Yeah, it's hysterical.
But deadly.
Yeah.
To your
Who
cells,
wants to
toxic.
ingest bleach? All they're doing is trying to fake the body out. Let's take a molecule off and see if anyone notices. Well, your body notices. You know how? Because it looks at it as a foreign invader. And now, not only are you not putting anything nutritious in, but you're making your body think sugar's coming in, so it's going to still act like sugar's going to come in, so you won't lose any weight. And you're putting a dangerous chemical in now. So it's a lose, lose, lose when the marketing companies think you're winning, winning, winning. So we got to be smarter than them.
Yeah, so, these sugars are creating the gut problems that we're seeing a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
Weight management issues, the empty
you
calories.
wanna-
It actually
you wanna
craves
cover
you to
that?
eat more.
Okay.
These empty sugar calorie foods causing you to eat more. So it doesn't cause weight loss.
Right.
It actually perpetuates weight gain.
And I think that's probably the biggest myth out there, that people think diet sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, will help them with their weight loss efforts. Can you explain to the listeners how that's completely false?
So it tricks your brain in telling you that you're full, but in reality you're not. So you're always going to go for something else. Sugar, is very addicting. So it basically tricks the brain in telling you that you're full, when in reality you're not. You're going to be eating more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
it causes
yeah.
more weight gain, actually.
Yeah, to
in
me,
the long
empty
run.
sugar, it's like why people can eat a whole thing of cotton candy or jelly beans or gummies. Like, it's because it's never satisfying anything.
So they always have to go,
more.
Yes.
Oh, man, yeah, this subject gets me a little hot on the collar. So can I mention what my worst pet peeve of this
Yes.
whole sugar thing is? So if anyone has brought children to a restaurant, okay, when you're trying to be good, you hear all about the news. Don't give your kids or yourselves, soft drinks. You picture soft drinks. Those are the bad ones. So everyone knows, don't give your kids Coca-Cola, I hope. Well, now I see all the parents like, oh, well, I'll just order Sprite, right? Or I'll just order lemonade for them, or gosh forbid, sweet tea. And my heart, it breaks as I see people that are extremely smart in their lives with many other choices, but they still are misled and give their children these beverages. Not only is it bad in general, 21 grams in a Sprite, 23 grams in a lemonade. Okay, and it's crazy. 36 grams in sweet tea. So here's the catch of this, folks. This is for 8-ounce servings, the grams of sugars, which is already too much. That's more than your daily allowance should be in one 8-ounce beverage. What size do restaurants have? Always more than 16 ounces. There's usually 20 ounce. So I'm being really, really generous saying it's only 16 ounces. So you have to double that. And who doesn't get extra servings? I mean, these waitresses, they have these cups filled before the kid takes that last sip on the straw. So sometimes it's 32 ounces in one sitting before sometimes their meals arrive. Holy!
And they haven't eaten their meals yet.
Dr. Ravi, that's like 100 grams of sugar. And we wonder why our children are bouncing off walls, can't sit down at school,
ADD,
getting all this
ADHD.
medication and getting diabetes and have bellies that are going over their belts.
Yes.
I'm really, okay.
I
Okay,
can
your
see
turn.
I can see it.
I need to
And I
calm
feel
down,
it too.
Dr. Ravi. I need to calm down.
Back to the breathing exercise.
Okay, breathing. Oh my gosh. And they're tricking us. Like one of the stats that was so obviously trickery is about like cranberry juice cocktail. Do you know that has more sugar than Coca-Cola? Cranberry juice cocktail. How many parents go, oh, I'll just buy apple juice or cranberry juice for my kids since I'm trying to avoid soda? But unfortunately, again, they put these beautiful pictures of
On the
vineyards
labels,
and cranberry fields thinking, oh, these kids are getting something healthy. No, they're not getting the healthiness of the fruit, which is the fiber and the antioxidants. They are not, guys. They are just getting liquid sugar that has no fiber buffering agent, no nutrients.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And talking about the kids, you know, their taste buds are being developed at that stage,
Yeah.
you know.
No wonder
when
why
they're
they
little.
don't want my broccoli rabe.
I
I'm
know.
serving.
Yeah. So when they go into the older ages, they're always craving those sugars. And so it's very hard at that point to, you know, go no sugar, you know.
Yep.
And so this is where the issue is. So starting kids off with minimizing their exposure to sugar.
Yep, and
At
not
a
getting
very young
fooled by
age.
raw, organic,
Exactly.
natural. Yeah.
Natural
It's,
foods.
Yep, and a lot
Yes.
of the material that they're using to make all these sweeteners, especially sugar, is of course genetically modified, like everything else.
You know, one thing that I want to talk about is stevia being a natural alternative to sugar.
Oh, good. Let's talk about something positive. Okay.
And you're talking about how, you know, stevia is a natural plant, the
Yep.
leaf, and so with the production of it, it's known now, so they're mass producing these plants. One thing that you have to worry and look out for is that these things can be laden with pesticides and herbicides for the growth of the plant. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure you're getting organic
Exactly.
stevia leaf.
And unfortunately, like I was watching, actually, of course, it was from your office that I got led to the documentary about the foods Rotten.
Rotten, yes.
Rotten. Oh my God, folks! I think I mentioned this last week on my show, but Rotten is a series that you can watch on Netflix, and Honey was, you know, the first episode, and that's a perfect example of something that in its rawest form, the way that God created it, is beautiful. It's wonderful.
natural. It's good.
natural. But again, because of the popularity, the overconsumption, not used the way that it's supposed to be used, you know, a mindful amount, now all of a sudden they're adding all these fillers.
They're
and
making it in
syrups,
labs.
Just exactly just like stevia. So,
Yes.
so I tell people all the time, you can grow stevia in your backyard in Florida. Florida has a wonderful climate. But yeah, who's going to like go out for their cup of coffee in the morning and grab a leaf? So if you do buy stevia, I have only found 2 companies that I know of as of today. It's Sweet Leaf and Cal Organic Pure. So believe it or not, unfortunately, even in the brand Cal that I sell, there are some bad ones mixed in. The reason why, Dr. Ravi, it's like 3 times the price to get the good stuff. Because again, they don't have enough to produce the pure stuff for the whole country. They don't. They can't make enough. And without doing bad, ways to get the sweetness out of the plant leaves, and you know, they add starches, and
And one thing about it is, you know, I get patients that say, well, it costs so much more. It does, but you know what? Stevia is so much stronger than sucrose, table sugar. And so you use very little. And of course, you have to retrain your taste buds to this new food,
and
this new
peace of mind is priceless, though.
Yes.
Like when people say how much it costs, I say, how much is it? The fear of cancer, the fear of diabetes, when you can't feel the bottom of your feet, is really an extra $10 a month really
gonna kill
costly?
you. No.
Like, I want to walk and feel my feet, so I'd rather go for stevia.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And you know, these are the mindset approaches that we need to make when we're setting ourselves up for when we're going into a restaurant, when we're making that decision of what are we eating. You know, just taking yourself back to that place. What does it feel like for a diabetic who has neuropathy? Are they able to walk? Are they able to feel their feet?
Yeah.
when you're making that decision on what you're going to eat.
Yeah, vision, I mean, well, like you said, with diabetes, and I am giving out a free book right now on diabetes. It's literally printed this last year, so it's all up-to-date information. It's
Do we
a
pick that up at
full-size
your
book.
store?
Yeah, so if you
Okay.
go to Nutrition World, you would love this book. I need to get it to you. It's really simple reading, very up-to-date information, more based on ways to overcome it, not about all the bad negative data. So it's very hopeful and lifestyle tips, recipes.
Good, nice.
Yeah,
And this is what
so-
everyone needs.
Yeah, I
these
got 1,000
how-tos.
copies because this is an important message to me. I find in all of our lives, there's not one human being I've met that hasn't suffered with a sugar addiction. And because it's our reward system still today, I mean, I don't even want to tell you what I just spent on our wedding cake, but as Matt and I sat there, it's, you taste and you see, and the reward factor of the sugar really triggers all these memories and moments. And
Hormones,
so I know
dopamine.
hormones, yeah. So
Feel good.
you're really up against a pretty tough battle. But with these sweeteners, and we'll go over some more, there are alternatives. You can still have safe sweetness in your life. And so definitely, I know we started off on a little negative tone only because I feel like we are being misled thinking.
And people need
sugar,
to know
yeah,
this,
They do.
It's now, what do we do in the next phase?
Yes.
And so as we go into the next half,
Yeah, now, your
we'll
workshop
give
you're
you some
going to
what to do.
Yep, your workshop that you're doing on the 27th, are you going to cover what cancer and sugar, the correlation between those
Of
two
course,
things?
yeah.
All right, you want to talk about that for a couple minutes before we go into break? Because
Yeah, let's do that.
that is a big
Cancer,
one.
in order for a doctor to diagnose cancer, they do a PET scan. And so what a PET scan is basically is where they shoot up radioisotopes, and it's basically sugar.
Wow.
And those
Crazy.
That isotope goes right to the area where there's a lot of cancer growth. You see, cancer cells love
That's
sugar.
amazing. Oh my gosh.
So it utilizes sugar to grow. So if you're putting in a lot of sugar, you're growing your cancer cells. So we'll be going over and showing you images of a PET scan, pre and post cancer cells.
Wow.
And, and also giving you some action steps that you can do when you're making a choice in what to eat, more healthier foods, natural foods, and decreasing your cancer cell growth.
Awesome. Because for most of us, yes, we all want to avoid diabetes, but, the C word is a scary word. We're all
Yes.
talking about it these days. So, we have a caller, Dr. Ravi. Good
Oh.
morning, Russ. How are you today?
Good. I was just curious with the stevia stuff you buy in the store. I grow this plant in my yard, and it's green, and I'm just wondering how much chemical changes they make to it to sell the clears, and there's not a single product on the market that's green. So I'm just wondering if what you're buying in the store is even remotely healthy. I mean, sugar itself is a plant too, so I'm just curious as to what they're removing to get rid of the green or what they're adding to it. Stevia is a plant that grows and it's green. I've got dried stuff in my refrigerator, but none of it is clear or white.
Russ,
So what
this
are
is-
they making the stevia? I mean, are they bastardizing that as bad as they are the sugar?
Okay, so there's a yes and no. So I am so glad you asked this question because I had a little bit of this debate recently. So anytime you process a plant, and you're right, it's a beautiful little green leaf, as you well know, and anytime you process a plant, even with the best intentions, it is processing. And when you process something, you will lose components of the plant that make it special. It's just like when you're getting the juice out of an apple. You're removing a lot of the compounds that make the apple healthy. So you really can't call the juice healthy anymore because you removed antioxidants and fiber. So same thing with the plant leaf. So the processing of stevia has been chemicalized, genetically modified, and it's just like the sugar industry. So I'm going to say 97% of what's out there is not really considered clean. It was really hard for me to find stuff to sell that I considered less processed. But they do use natural solvents to get out compounds from the leaf, and that's why the powder you buy is not green, because they're not like blending leaves and drying them and you're putting them into jars, which is what you would believe if they're trying to keep things natural. But that's not how you get that concentrated sweetness down. So they use solvents, and some are made in laboratories. They're not even really the plant anymore. So to answer your question, it's really not the natural leaf anymore. It is better to grow it in your home and use it by the leaf, like it truly was in historical pages. But now they pour solvents on it to get the sweetness out, and they powderize that, and that's why it's a white crystalline powder. And most is full of starch and bleach and other chemicals, except for the 2 brands that I mentioned, which is Organic Pure Cal and Sweet Leaf Organic version. Those are the only 2 companies I found that don't overprocess. Does that?
Great, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Russ. Anything that you want to add to that? Did I cover it?
Yeah, and so with his plant, making sure that he's feeding it the right things. So organic
true.
soil.
Yep,
So
true.
doing as much as what he's in control of, although that plant could have been, just modified.
Yeah, it could
but
have been
just
GMO seeds to start.
seeds to start with.
Yeah, you're right. But again, do you want to take this time? I made a list of my favorites that I use in my kitchen with my family. And I don't know if your list is similar, but you want to cover that real quick before? It's over break time. Cliff, we were chatting away, weren't we?
That's all right. When we get a caller, we can bend the format just a little bit.
That's right. We're flexible people
Yes.
here.
Yeah, that's right. By the
All
way,
right.
if you want to call in, 340-1590. We will take a little break. Be right
Sounds good. Okay.
Hey, it's Dr. Ravi at Tradition Family Chiropractic. We are dedicated to serving you and your family with integrity, compassion, and innovative care through the most advanced chiropractic care ever in chiropractic history, encouraging your health and your family's health to its maximum potential on a regular basis. Call us today at 772-345-0060 or schedule online at traditionhealth.com for your free consultation.
Guiding the Treasure Coast in health, one person at a time. That's their motto at Joanne's Nutrition World, Suite 121, in the historic arcade building on US 1, downtown Fort Pierce. Joanne brings more than 25 years of experience in the natural health industry, right here to you. Take advantage of this free personal guide to wellness and good health. Meet with Joanne herself and get started. Nutrition World always provides you with the hottest new product lines, natural and homeopathic remedies, herbals, and best of all, expert advice from the people who care. Call Joanne at 464-3598, 464-3598, and learn the correlation between diet and great health. Stop in today. The expert guidance to health is always free at Nutrition World. Nutrition World, Suite 121 in the Arcade Building, US 1, downtown Fort Pierce.
Staying healthy is hard work. There's exercise and eating right. We need to drink more water and get more sleep. Wouldn't it be great if there were just one small thing, something simple and healthy and natural that could make a big difference in our lives? Well, there is. It's called Cell Power, and it's the easiest all-natural supplement that I have ever tried. Cell Power for more oxygen. That helps my exercise and my sleep. Cell Power for better absorption. Now my food and vitamins, minerals, and herbs can get to the cellular level. I'm adding Cell Power to my daily routine. It's a small thing that will make a big difference. Cell Power is available at all the best health food stores and natural health clinics. For more information, call toll-free 1-877-CELL-POWER. That's 1-877-CELL-POWER. You'll love it, guaranteed, or your money back. Ask for Cell Power today at your local health food store. Remember, Cell Power.
Welcome back to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World in downtown Fort Pierce, US 1 between Avenue A and Orange Avenue, across from City Hall, in the historic arcade building. Now back to the show with Joanne Augusto.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. I have the pleasure of having Dr. Ravi on, as he is a monthly guest with the show. So let's go back to topic, which is sugar. The addictiveness, the dangers, the empty calories of it. And the second part of the show, we're going to discuss the positive side, how we can use alternatives to still keep sweetness in our life. And Dr. Ravi and I are going to discuss our favorites. But before we go to that part, I do want to mention, earlier I said to be very careful of how they're marketing beverages now and foods. Because they say raw or organic or non-GMO, it definitely does not make them safe as far as sugar consumption. Cranberry juice cocktail, a great example of that. More sugar than Coca-Cola. Lemonade, more sugar than Sprite. So do not get tricked by fancy labels that have beautiful pictures of fruit on them. And the other thing is that there was a mandate, I think it's about 5 or 7 years ago, that said that the vending machines had to start putting an awareness on their machines that say, watch, this is not a substitute for a meal, watch your sugar consumption. And it was part of a mandate to teach our children because childhood obesity and diabetes was hitting epidemic status. Well, they are getting around this by, again, marketing labels that look natural. So like sports drinks, energy drinks, brain drinks. They're marketing even ADHD drinks, which is hysterical because they're the cause of most of the issues. So in our school systems, on our sports fields, in commercials, especially social media, it's all over these YouTube channels that these kids are obsessed with. They are seeing these drinks that might have a picture of cherries on it, but by no means are healthy. So please just don't even bother with the front. Turn it over. One thing they cannot mislead us with or lie is the grams of sugar, but also be very careful of how much is in a serving size. Isn't that the trickiest thing when they'll say, oh, only 11 grams of sugar, and then you turn over the bottle and it says 4 servings in the bottle.
Yeah.
So it's really 44 grams, and this is not like once in a blue moon. Most drinks, even green drinks that you find at Publix, they look green and all healthy, they still have 2 to 4 servings in one bottle. So always do the math and have the real story before, so that way you can make a really smart decision. You're not basing it on what they want you to read.
And one thing I like to point out here too is also, while looking at those numbers, looking at the ingredients. So you want to look out for some of the things that we're going to be speaking about as far as sugar alternatives and using it in our house and when you're purchasing these products in the store.
Yeah, and convenience is a big thing these days, and I'm not saying that we're not all, we're not home making all these things every day. Sometimes we do go to a convenience store. Sometimes we are at a restaurant and we just don't want to have water. I get that. But at least, the serving size could be where you could make a choice of, okay, let me just fill my glass halfway.
Shy back on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just be mindful that, you don't have to accept status quo. You can speak up and make a change, because these people that are pouring the Sprite into your cup every 3 seconds are not going to be there when, your vision is getting disturbed from diabetes or you can't feel your feet anymore. So, okay, I promised we were going to do the upside this half. So here we go.
So what are some of your favorites, Joanne?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ravi. All right, so my favorite, and when I went to school for nutrition, this is what we used in our kitchen only. So none of the other sweeteners we're about to discuss were allowed to be used. We were only allowed to use dates. And when I first walked in there and they showed me this big bowl of dates, I honestly didn't know what they were. I was like, what are these things that honestly, it looked like a dried bug to me, right? And they had authentic dates that they had imported, so they don't really look like the dates what we have here. And they were really cool and they were tricky. But then when I cut it open, my mother would make the dates during Thanksgiving and slice them lengthwise and put cream cheese in the middle. So as soon as I saw them that way, I was like, oh, wait, I know what dates are. But hers was like really bigger and moister and different. But dates are definitely still my favorite. They are one of the most nutritious sweeteners you can use. So they really shouldn't be considered a sweetener. They should be considered a food, because you can consume them like food in moderation, because they do have lots of yummy sweetness, tons of antioxidants, tons of fiber, super good for you. And they have a more richer, like a molasses-like flavor, but they're great in recipes. You can use them for smoothies, shakes. The only time that dates should not be consumed if they've been processed into a powder, because then they're concentrating the sweetness way down. So they're not convenient for your cup of coffee, obviously. But for old recipes, when you're making cakes and cookies and smoothies, definitely I would go towards the dates. Or when you're craving sweetness in general, instead of worrying about creating a recipe, just eat a couple dates and, take your time with consuming them, because it will help you with the addiction, with the sugar, and you can overcome it with something nutritious instead of an empty calorie.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my favorite. I love dates. A little harder to work with and than other sweeteners, because they don't come in a little powderized jar. But to me, that's what makes them special. You get sweetness and nutrition at the same time.
Yeah, and I want to share something back. Growing up in Indian culture, fasting is it's known, and so doing 12-hour fasts, and how we'd break that fast is eating dates.
Seriously?
Yeah, for energy. Because
oh my God. I love everything about your culture, but I had no idea.
That's how you would break a fast, is eating dates.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
No, again, do you remember how many it was? Because I'm curious. Because
my mom
could
used
eat
to
a
give
whole
us
bag.
two.
Okay.
Two, and then we would have our dinner, our meal.
Okay, so just the whole date.
Just the whole
not
date,
in a milk,
nothing else.
not in any kind of liquid or anything.
Just
Wow.
Yeah, and I can remember just walking around the house eating a date.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
that's so awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
and talking about minerals and
if
fiber
Matt's
content.
listening, he's probably like, "Oh, honey, the next time we fast, we're gonna break it with a date. This is awesome."
Yes.
All right, beautiful.
Yeah, and one thing that we like to use is maple syrup, and so maple syrup, grade B, organic. It should be organic form. There's a lot of ones that you'll find in store shelves that are processed, and so making sure it's organic. Great thing with maple syrup is that there's minerals in that. So, it does have that earthy taste, and it is sweet. So it's a little higher on the glycemic index scale when it comes to diabetic consuming this, but it is a safer alternative from, regular table sugar. As far as calories, there are calories that are in the maple syrup as well.
And maple syrup's so yummy.
It
But
is.
you definitely pointed out grade B or C, definitely not A, everyone.
No,
Yeah.
not
everyone
A. Stay away from
everyone
A.
thinks A is good,
No,
so
no.
that's where it's
B,
tricky.
B and C.
Yeah.
Do you have C in your place?
No, I usually do B.
Okay.
And again, it's because it's where the nutrition is, guys. The A has nothing. Yeah, it's pretty much
it's
just sugar.
processed. Yeah.
And to be wary of any that add other syrups
Other-
to the maple.
Yeah, so important when you're looking at your syrups, looking at the ingredients
Yep.
in it, making sure that it's just pure maple
I
syrup.
know. Oh my God.
Nothing added.
Right. Do you eat steel cut oatmeal?
I do, and this
Okay.
is where you use the maple syrup.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I forgot to mention, so I got to plug in my dates. For anyone that's used to a lot of sweetness with their oatmeal, chopped up dates is a great way to have your steel cut oatmeal, because you can chop the walnuts, chop the dates, and make this awesome crumble on the top.
Ooh.
And at first, I'm so used to with the kids, like doing the maple syrup thing, but I will tell you that the dates really are a nicer complement versus the syrup, because you definitely less sugar and then more fiber, and there's more texture and flavor with the dates.
Yeah.
But I
That's a
was
great-
I
that's
was
a great
I was a
recipe there.
maple syrup steel cut oatmeal junkie. You
Yeah,
know,
we still
So-
have that, and what we do is we actually soak the oatmeal at night, the steel cut
okay.
oatmeal, and we put a little bit of the syrup in it, the maple syrup.
as it's soaking.
As it's soaking.
Okay.
And what we found out is that it requires less than what we would normally put in the morning
That's true.
on top. So
Because
soaking
I do it
with
on slow cook. Do you wonder if I put the syrup in, if that would still have that same impact?
give it a try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm going to do that tonight. We need
Yeah.
another batch. All right. Anything else on maple syrup before I
No,
go to the next?
that's it.
All right, and I'm kind of glad I got this one on my list. Okay, so honey, like I mentioned, people, everyone needs to go on Netflix and watch the first episode. Well, all the episodes, but especially the first episode about it's called Rotten, the show, and it's about honey. So holy moly, one bee, 40 days it's alive. It only makes a teaspoon of honey. This is a huge problem because we love honey and we are over consuming it, so they don't make enough. So they're putting all this chemicalized foreign substance that we don't even know. They pay people thousands of dollars, full-time jobs, just to detect chemicals in our honey. I mean, isn't that insane? So seriously, and there was one, that antibiotic that could kill people. It was lethal if it's in your honey. So please, just go to your local health food stores, go to your local farmers markets, support us and them, because you want to get local, organic, raw, unfiltered honey. All these mass-produced companies, you wouldn't believe what's happening with them. It's crazy scary. But honey in that natural form is good for us. Similar to dates and maple syrup, in its purest form, has a lot of nutrition. It still has a lot of natural sugars, though. So remember, sugar, if you are overweight or diabetic, sugar is still a no-no. It doesn't matter where it comes from. You're not going to sit down and eat a bag of dates and help your body. If it's sweet to the tongue and you have weight to lose, or you're diabetic, or you know that you are fluctuating, because even a spike of blood sugar problem, even if your doctor says, oh, you're pre-diabetic, or you could still be in the danger zone of affecting your health if you spike your sugar occasionally, just as if you are diagnosed with diabetes. So don't think binging on sugar 2 weeks before your appointment, is helping you. So I got off on a tangent there, people, but sorry. But honey, definitely one of those things. Be mindful about it. Use it sparingly. Use it, the right form of it, but delicious in coffee and tea and in recipes. Absolutely a delicious food product. Safe if it's raw, unfiltered, especially local honey that you can trust and you know where the bees are coming from.
Awesome. Yes.
All right.
Local. And the next one I want to talk about is stevia.
Okay.
So stevia, people have a bad rep for it because how it tastes, but we're so ingrained to what normal sugar is. And so stevia, so many health benefits to it. It's 200 times sweeter than normal sugar. And so you want to use very little. Obviously, getting organic brand is better because these plants are being genetically modified for mass production. Stevia has been shown to lower blood sugar and actually normalize blood pressure values. And so stevia is actually an antioxidant as well, so it helps patients that have gut health issues, decreasing inflammation in the body as well. And when we look at sugar, our types of sugar, for obesity issues, we really want to focus more on lowering that chronic inflammation state, right? And so your stevia is going to help you do that, lower inflammation.
Definitely. And you can lose weight by using stevia in your diet.
You can lose weight for weight
so
management.
Don't consider that part of the artificial sweetener issue. Stevia can help you lose weight.
Yeah, and it also helps with decreasing bacteria. So if you find yourself obviously getting a lot of bacterial infections, stevia is great for doing that as well.
Yeah, and that's a win-win. We want it's benefiting our health and helping us get through the rough spots when we're craving sweetness.
And allowing your body to function and get rid of, oxidative stress.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's a trick. Bring down inflammation and help control stress levels. Perfect. Well, my next one, I have to admit, I think of this one most often when we come into the holidays because everyone's thinking of sweet things and baked goods. And I do feel a little bit like very, Martha Stewart, like, I'm in the kitchen a lot more often come the cooler weather. So organic coconut sugar, a little bit newer than the other ones we're discussing, but it has a great earthy flavor to it, great for pies, easy to work with, and it doesn't have a bitterness to it. And like you mentioned with stevia, it does have a bad rap sometimes, but it's just usually how much you use of it too. With any of these substitute sweeteners, not artificial, natural substitute sweeteners, they are so much sweeter than sugar, so you only need a tiny bit. So if you feel like you're getting aftertaste or bitterness, just use a little less. It can make a huge difference. I mean, some of these stevia products, it's like one drop or like a quarter of the little packet to start to get used to the different taste. But with organic coconut sugar, it's kind of almost 1-to-1 in a recipe as sugar. Same granular consistency, but again, coconut sugar definitely has a better nutrition profile. Well, actually, it has nutrition versus no nutrition. There is a fatty acid component to it, definitely a more health benefit, but like all the others discussed, you have to get organic, you have to get natural, unrefined. So organic coconut sugar, very mild in flavor. It's not super sweet, but great for pumpkin pies, great for apple pies, pecan pies. When you want that nice, I made apple crumble just a couple nights ago, so it's perfect for that. So you can get texture with your sweetness, because that's sometimes why people use regular sugar, because it's granulated and you get texture. So if you're really a big baker, especially for the holidays, you want to have a healthier substitute for granulated processed sugar, definitely turn to organic coconut sugar for this instance, because your recipes will come out actually better and more flavorful than regular sugar.
Now, Joanne, I have a question on this. I've
Sure.
seen just coconut palm sugar by itself, but not the organic form. What's your take on that? Organic versus the...
I don't know. I feel like I can't trust
I'm stuck on
it.
that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's such a little supply chain when it comes to coconut sugar. There's not that many vendors yet, so I feel like I can trust it right now. But as soon as the popularity increases, that's when I'll get weary of it, because then, just like with stevia,
Yes.
all of a sudden overprocessing, bleaching, other methods are going to come into play, or just man-made elements that are mimicking it are going to start filling the bags up. Because
Okay.
again, even remember when coconut oil got really
Yeah.
popular? They literally started having strikes because they could not make enough fast enough. When things get popular here in the United States that are being imported in, they're like, whoa, all of a sudden, you got a few billion people asking for something. So production will be affected, and, the quality, of course, will be affected. So right now, I'd say all the coconut sugar I've seen is okay.
Okay.
For in my store and in regular markets, everything seems to pass my test, but we'll have to revisit this conversation in 1 year.
All right.
All
Moving on
right.
to monk fruit.
Yes, we definitely want
Yes.
to cover that. Go
So
for
monk
it.
fruit, it's one of our favorite ones as well. Very sweet, a little more sweeter than stevia. And so monk fruit is basically the lohan. It's known in the traditional Chinese medicine cultures and basically the way of people taking care of themselves. So monk fruit has a lot of higher levels of antioxidant in it from the mongosides that the plant produces. And so it also is very beneficial for Epstein-Barr virus, so keeping it dormant. This also helps with autoimmune conditions. And so once again, it is very sweet, and it can be very hard to find from time to time.
Yes.
Yes.
Usually in syrup form, like in Lohan.
Yes.
Yeah, I sold it for a long time as Lohan syrup.
Okay, I've only known
Yeah.
the powdered form.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, probably because no one was buying the syrup, so they had to make it in a convenient powder.
Okay. Yeah, so that's one of another alternative form of sugar, a safer alternative. is
Starbucks
monk
has it now mixed in with their sweetener packets.
Some of them, yes,
Yeah,
I did see
but
that.
they put fructose and other stuff mixed in with it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, hello, people. Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, flow agents and all that other junk.
Yeah. So look out for lohan or monk fruit, making that an alternative as well.
Yeah, there was crazy benefits that I was reading, like you just covered them. You know what? Epstein-Barr virus. You want to take a minute and tell our listeners what there is? Because, you just casually said it, but, some people might not even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Epstein-Barr virus, once you have it, it could be, you're always going to have it, and you want to make sure that you keep that virus very dormant. And so picking it up from anywhere, basically.
Yeah, and you get exhausted when you have that
Very
virus.
fatigued, and I have a few patients that have it, and it's more about working with them on mitochondrial scales and sugar
the
intake.
energy of the cell. Okay.
Yeah, energy, powerhouse of the cell. And so making sure their diet is very clean.
Now, I grew up being taught that Epstein-Barr virus was primarily caused by sugar intake.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, everything, sugar,
Virus,
like we
yeah.
were saying, it feeds cancer cells, it feeds viruses, it creates inflammation, which they say all disease starts with inflammation. So this subject that we're covering, I hope no one's taking it too lightly, because this poisonous white powder that is looked at so innocently, so cheaply, we can buy things, off dollar menus every day that is full of this, is killing us.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something we seriously need to understand, that we don't have to live on broccoli and kale all day long to be healthy. We can have sweetness in our day. We can enjoy life. We can make memorable moments with our children without filling them with all this processed poisonous powder.
Yeah, great alternatives that we spoke about, the dates, the maple syrup, grade B, monk fruit, stevia.
And it's all convenient now.
It is.
And again, we can find fault in everything, folks. If we take the time, we can find fault in everything. But let's try to look at positive and good options, and know that any little changes every day can amount to a different status of
Outcome
mind, body,
later on.
spirit, soul by the end of the year. So
Yes.
November 27th, Tradition Family Chiropractic. Don't miss his workshop.
Sugar
Call
Crush.
Dr. Ravi's office. What's your number real quick?
772-345-0060.
Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome week.
Have an awesome day.
Wow, that's where the Sugar Plum Run's going to happen at Tradition Square on the 30th of November. For more information on that, see the Sue Ellen Sanders Show on WPSLTV.com. Downtown Fort Pierce, US 1 between Avenue A and Orange Avenue, across from City Hall in the historic Arcade Building in downtown Fort Pierce.